welcome to the Double Shot with your favourite bogans, Alex Fitzgerald and one Mitchell Scal. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. Back by popular demand, we are to bump out James this week because the fact of the matter is we follow the numbers, we follow the data, and the great man is back. Welcome back, Schnitzel.
Oh, it is a pleasure to be here. I've stolen James's Tesla battery and hidden it, so he's unable to get in, and therefore got the call up 2 weeks in a row.
He's not so gloaty now, is he?
No.
He's not so gloaty now about his Tesla. I wouldn't know what a gas station is.
That'll learn him.
It's lovely to drink another Michael with you. That is a Michael Bublé, a double shot. I do understand that one of your minions apparently will be delivering you one mid-pod. So
look, I was expecting to have it by now, but
do you know what would be funny if James delivered you your coffee?
If who? Sorry.
If James delivered you your coffee, you're doing his pod and he just, here you go, sir. Thank you, sir.
That'd be like the time James shouted me a coffee and I was thinking, geez, this is a nice bloke. Like it was an afternoon coffee too. Anyway, I'm drinking it and I'm mid-scroll through the old emails and I'm feeling like I'm buzzing. As it turned out, he got me a quadruple shot, gave it to me at 1 p.m. and I didn't see the back of my eyelids till an ungodly hour that night. So, I've been stitched up by him once.
What a stitch up. You found every default with every crevice in your roof, no doubt about it, and all the corners.
100%. And may I say, Alex, for a girl based in Victoria, you are looking mighty tan today.
Mate, this is not even a Latan Bondi Sands number. It's producer Nick's good handiwork, and I say good liberally, with kindness in my heart. Hopefully this doesn't turn out so bad because I was a bit jelly at the start of this of how your tan is seemingly natural as a surfer.
Yeah, a little bit of surf action, although wetsuit season, so it's only from the neck up at the moment. The rest of the body's completely white.
I figured it wouldn't be the first time you'd crawled into Katie's, skincare products. So I figured, had she had a lovely tan of some description, maybe you just
it's like I'm walking around with a Mayfair filter on. Anyway, Alex, pleasure to be here, as I said. You've got some data for us. We better get into it.
I do. And this data actually, it creeped up on me a little bit. I actually got a bit heated over this, but let's call it this week's Stat Fact.
Stat Fact.
Stat Fact.
The Stat Man.
Stat Fact. Mitch, you didn't even give us a Jimmy Shimmy then.
Sorry, the stinger gets me every time.
Stat Fact.
The Stat Man.
Stat Fact. Give it to us, come on. Woo! No, okay. Yeah, righto. You know what? You'll rap to randoms in a taxi line, but you won't give us a 2-second shimmy on the pod.
I do most of my shimmying and rapping at after midnight, Alex. So
off the record.
Yeah, no, I've seen plenty of it before midnight and after 17 beers. Okay, so this week's Stat Fact, I read it in My Money magazine, and it got me. I was reading it on the plane. I usually just grab one of these now. I quite like getting the mag and just doing a bit of a highlight and a scribble around my ideas and getting up some facts. Mortgage Choice recently did a survey, and of course, everyone's talking about borrowers and interest rates rising, and I guess the concern around that. A few numbers they came up with. 1 in 5 respondents said, they'd be concerned if their home loan went up by 1%, and 48% said they would be concerned if rates rose by 2%. And then Mortgage Choice have said some numbers. They've gone, look, if the cash rate goes up to 2%, on the average borrowing or debt of $500,000, a buyer will be paying $511 more per month. Now, that's numbers, right? All well and good. Worryingly, half of those people said that they couldn't afford to pay $200 a month of that, right? So yes, all concern, all worry. I mean, no doubt the survey was that way inclined. But here's the clincher of where I got a little bit upset. 55% of those doing the survey didn't even know, they were clueless on the home loan interest rate they were paying.
Sheesh.
So, more than half. So they're saying, yes, I'll be worried if interest rates go up. Who wouldn't? We're all human, right? It means we'll be paying more out of our pocket. But then 55% have said we actually don't even know what we're paying. So that's my stat fact for the week. But I want to sort of segue a little bit into you've got to know your numbers. If you own a property that you live in, if you own a property that's in I don't care what it is, like this could potentially be your future, or it is your future, or if you don't look after it, it could seriously affect you if you don't know what you're doing. So you've got to make yourself a spreadsheet, understand what you're paying, understand what your debt is, and figure out how that looks in your month-to-month or your week-to-week life. You've got to know this. And Mitch, I put in here, as you mentioned before, if you cannot do Excel, if you're scared of numbers, you hate numbers, but you understand you need to know this, I want you to email me. I'm going to send you the most simple spreadsheet of your life that you can apply to yourself. Because the more you understand, the better control you have of what's going on in your portfolio. So Schnitzel, I know you've got your own home with your lovely partner, Katie.
Yes.
And you've got your investment property.
Yes.
If you don't know your numbers,
look,
I will fly to Queensland tomorrow to backhand you.
Look, not that I don't know my numbers. I reckon you've been a little bit harsh on the public there, because interest rates would have changed twice in the last 60 days. So I reckon you've come in at a pretty hard time and you've said you need to know your interest rate, but they've changed twice in the last 60 days. In saying that, I think it is important to have the spreadsheet and monitor your cash flow like that. I might even put my hand up to get a little spreadsheet from the self-proclaimed spreadsheet queen of the South, if you don't mind sending one my way.
I've never self-proclaimed that. My spreadsheets are very simple. And,
no, there was one day you said you were the spreadsheet queen, and I sent you one of my Fizos, and you go, "Oh, geez, is that how you run the formulas? That's so much easier."
Look at this guy.
I prefer the long way.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Brackets plus and or minus, brackets again, and you've just times it by the number that we needed. So look, I just want to say, and you know what, you're right. You've got to cut this people a little bit of slack. I've had some changes as well. I think it was more that if you don't really know your interest rate, then, you know, you may not be entirely aware of what's changing. So just be aware of what's going on there. Anyway, let's move over to something that you're a little bit more familiar with in our world, and that is land data.
Land, yes.
Sorry, can I say, we can't get past this long-winded introduction without saying, I don't even know where James is today. I don't even know why he's not here, Schnitz. All I got was a message saying, Mitch is feeling in again. Now, is he sick anymore? No.
No.
Is the ABS data long-winded? Well, it is.
ABS data hangover, you reckon? Little census data recovery period.
Bit of a hangover. Maybe he's not feeling so good, so many numbers.
Look,
or maybe it's a digestion.
I don't know where he is either.
Period.
I just got a version of Morse code that I deciphered to say that you've got to fill in for the pod if you value your career progression. And I said, no worries, mate. Consider it done. But
yes,
no,
sir.
Speaking of land data, you've raised a nice point, and just a little tidbit, if you will, to end the intro segment here, is that if we look at over the 2011 to 2016 period, residential land values increased by 36.9%, right?
My word.
Yeah, my word indeed. The median house price over the same period increased by 16.3%. So if we look into that, and I know your dad has drilled into us that land is the foundation of all wealth, it certainly seems that it is, and has outperformed houses by more than double. So there you go, little tidbit, land, it's what we're all about.
I just want to say, I reckon that's a little bit conservative.
You reckon? You're going to go against the ABS?
Mate, it says the median house price increased 16.3% in
5 years.
In the 5 years from 11 to 16.
Yeah. Not 16 to 21, 11 to 16. So
yeah, okay. All right. Maybe it's right.
Look, I don't know if it's right or not, but I'm going to take the ABS word on it.
Maybe the Australian Bureau of Statistics are right. Look, maybe they are, you know.
All right. Construction costs, very topical, has been for quite some time. Certainly we see it on the ground as, one of the biggest challenges at the moment for property investors or owner-occupiers that are building. And costs have been reported to have increased over the last 12 months, so residential construction costs by more than 10%, which is the fastest rate of growth since the introduction of GST at the turn of the millennium. Obviously, we've got a number of contributing factors to that. Materials, I think we touched on it last week, labour.
We did.
And then energy prices, fuel. everything's compounding into construction prices soaring and likely to continue for quite some time, according to the HIA. However, Alex, you've come across some alternative methods that have been, I guess, a product of dealing with things like this, and factory homes has hit your desk. What's going on in that space, and what are we seeing there?
A topic we love to have internally is kind of like alternative living, maybe intergenerational homes, smaller, smart housing. Love having that conversation. I actually think it was James who circulated an amazing article last week. And it's the obvious discussion to be having in this environment. Affordability always gets talked about, and now more than ever, we've got affordability specific to construction that we're talking about. Usually it's land's gone up, houses have gone up, nothing's affordable, but right now we're seeing, everything amongst an inflation environment. So this company out of the US called Pegasus, they're currently making these awesome little entry-level homes, modest in size, so just under 100 square metres, 96 square metres to be specific. And in that, they can squeeze 2 beds, 2 bathrooms, two bedrooms, I should say, 2 bathrooms. One even has a double vanity sink. And then a little kitchenette, living area with, your good appliances, stainless steel. You got marble countertops, like sexy, relative. And the biggest difference with these little smart homes to your average is that they are made in a factory. So we call them factory homes, or even we've got sort of a term here, modular homes. You even hear kit homes. You can buy like a kit home, which is kind of like a shed off, I think eBay and Amazon even sell them for like 15, 16 grand. But of course you need the right tools and skills to be able to put those together. But a very interesting model to be talking about moving ahead in this construction environment. Would you live in a factory home, a modular home, Schmidt?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, for sure. It depends. Like, obviously, I think, I'd imagine it'd be hard to tell whether it was a factory home or not once it was built. So let me get this straight, right? So you're saying that, I think you've mentioned here there's a 3D printing apparatus that they use.
Oh, sorry, I didn't say that.
You didn't?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so that there's an $800,000 machine, basically, that they print, I guess, materials. And you're saying in a factory, they do all of that. And then I imagine they ship all of the various components out to site and then erect it like Lego or like a, like a puzzle piece.
That's right. They might put them in like 3 or 4 parts, and then they put them on a back of a truck and they take them out there, and then they put glue those 3 or 4 parts together. Pretty amazing and very cost efficient. This is all in US dollars, but and it doesn't actually say sort of as a price per square metre, but you can imagine, Schmidt, it's a lot cheaper than your slab and your construction of all your materials getting out there if it's printed. They're printing concrete.
Yeah, I think the biggest threat when you're building a house is obviously costs and time. And this seems to deal with both of those, given that it's low cost and you're printing materials. Now, I don't know, I'm sure that there is, supply chains that you have to put in and all the rest of it. But I'd imagine it mitigates your risk on cost and time, and I think that's a great thing. So sign me up and I'll live in it.
All right. Kid home coming your way.
Perfect. Now, Alex, I want to talk about something.
I'm just eating a protein ball.
Oh, right. I just cut me off mid. That was going to be my best intro, and you've just cut me off.
No, keep going. I just want to say.
Bloody coup.
Go for it, mate.
No, I will not make out with you.
Now, Alex.
No, keep going.
The bogans are at it again, aren't we?
Time is money. This is all going in the pod. What's up?
No
What's on your mind? What's on your mind?
I want to talk about the New South Wales government and what they've rolled out recently in terms of stamp duty concessions or waiving of stamp duty for land tax. I think you guys have spoken about it on the pod. But before I do that, I've got a pop quiz for you. All right? We'll come back to that. Little pop quiz time for you, Schlingers. And it is on the theme of first home buyers.
Okay.
Schlink, since 1963, when the first home owner grant was introduced.
Oh, that was a great year.
In dollar terms, what do you think the total amount of dollars that they have given out in grants is?
Oh,
Since 1963. Total dollars.
$1 trillion. No, so hang on. Okay, flipping heck. 833 billion.
Ooh, pretty heavy. 36.8 billion given out in grants alone. But that
Not
doesn't
even close.
include stamp duty concessions and like
Ooh.
federal stimulus like
Okay.
home builder and all of that. So that's another 20.5 billion. So total in concessions, grants, all the rest of it across all levels of governments, 50 bill, call it.
Mate, I said 833 billion.
So they reckon with the grants that they've given out, they could have built 60,000 social housing, which is something to think about. But in any event, New South
So
Wales.
they say.
Hey?
Anyway.
Yeah.
So they say.
So
they say.
Yeah, I reckon the grants are great.
But also, like, you know, sorry, I'm just going to, like, of course they would say that, but it still houses a significant amount of the population. Yes, it is
100%.
more of the private market, but anyway, time and place. Yeah, what have you got for us?
So-
Are they going to start letting us pay land tax at a higher rate than a big whack?
So New
you
South
like to
Wales
say?
government have come out. I know you guys have touched on this, I think, a few times on the pod.
We have?
Yeah, so it's currently being passed through Parliament or whatever the lawmakers are involved in it. I don't know. But
Passed through the important
effectively,
house?
they're going to allow first home buyers to choose whether they pay stamp duty or they opt in for a land tax annual payment, plus they pay as part of that a percentage of their land value as well. So I'll put this into some context for you, right?
All right, okay.
So the opt-in tax will be $400 a year for a first home buyer, owner, occupier. And then in addition to $400 a year, they'll pay 0.3% of their land value. So effectively, they're paying $400 plus 0.3% of land value. So for example, if we use $800,000 as an example in Sydney, and we say that 60% of that is the land value, right? So 60% of the land value, stamp duty on that purchase in New South Wales would be $31,305.
Okay.
Applying the $400 a year plus 0.3% in land value, it would
What are we
take you
paying?
15 years to pay that. So to pay the $31,000 as part of the ongoing land tax and annual fee.
Yep.
So if you're presenting those
feels
two
right.
options to me, I'm absolutely taking it. The
Can
land
I-
tax and ongoing cost. What would you
This
do?
is a big deal.
This is a big deal. Can I say something?
Yes.
I wonder from a lending perspective how, if the bank are going to ask you this when you go to get a loan, hey, are you going to pay stamp duty up front or are you going to pay as you go land tax? And the reason that I say that is because is the bank then going to factor in that additional cost you have to pay? And therefore, does it mean, by the way, I don't have shitty tan on my hands. It's producer Nick's thing. And therefore, will you actually have a lesser borrowing capacity from the bank? So my point is, if you had a borrowing capacity now to buy $1 million property and you're prepared to pay the stamp duty up front, yes, you've still got $1 million borrowing capacity. Now, if you said, no, I'm going to pay as I go because why wouldn't I? It seems a lot cheaper even though it's over a longer term. Then would you have a perhaps $850,000 to $900,000 capacity? Just wondering, putting it out there. See, something we haven't spoken about before. It just came to me. It just popped into my head then.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, it does make sense because obviously the bank's going to assess the deposit and costs as well as your funds are complete and then the servicing. So I don't know, what's the biggest entry barrier to getting into a property? I reckon it would be depositing costs over servicing. So if you can, I guess, save money up
100%.
front and then cop it ongoing, I'm probably thinking that for me would help buy a property more so than servicing. I guess everyone's going to be different, but I think either way, this is a good thing and, see how it goes in New South Wales, which obviously is quite an expensive property market, or particularly in and around Sydney. And we'll see where we end up.
There's a developer saying, I don't think we've ever said it internally, to be honest with you, but I've heard a few South Australian developers say it, and that is end user pays.
Yes.
Now, using that as a bit of a segue here, we're looking at one of the biggest private developer players at the moment in the three markets that we play in, which is Queensland, Victoria and Adelaide, and that is Villawood. They have gone huge on their acquisitions to develop of late. I've been seeing them everywhere in Adelaide where we play. In Victoria, that's their homeland, their motherland, if you will, and then they've gone up there to rain on your parade a bit there, Schmitty. Not really. I'm kind of saying that tongue-in-cheek. But when we talk about all of these new costs added on or whatever, these big private developers, they're not too worried because at the end of the day, the end user pays. What do you see them doing up in your neck of the woods?
Yes, I mean, they've had a presence in Queensland for a while. They've got some pretty big projects here.
Namely, like 5 years or something?
Oh, maybe even longer. So they've got the surrounds in Helensvale and also Arbor in sort of Burleigh area. But I think they've had 3 recent acquisitions in Queensland. The first one was an 83-hectare site in Gleneagle. Gleneagle's about near Bow Desert, so about 65k from Brisbane City, same from Gold Coast. So they bought that. 600 lots are proposed for that site, and they reckon they paid 4.9 million, which is being reported. So, mate, that's good
cheap.
Buying. Yeah, it doesn't. I'm not sure if that's correct. That's what's been reported.
Or they've got some serious hurdles with that site.
That's about $8,000 a block. So, which like a block in Gleneagle would sell at 250, somewhere around that, 260. So I'd imagine that they've got some aggressive planning assumptions in there on yield, as well as you factor in costs. Either way, that was a pretty significant acquisition from a yield perspective if they get the 600 lots. They've also bought a site in Redlands, like in the Redland Bay area, which is sort of halfway between Gold Coast, Brisbane.
Nice.
Yep. So in there, and then also 18 hectares 7 hectares in Cairns, or like in a place called Trinity Beach. So I've been very bullish in Queensland. So certainly seeing that market on the back of migration and supply issues as one that's going to be quite buoyant for some time. And that's following a sizable spending spree in SA as well, which you're on the ground down there. So what's happening? What have they been doing in SA as well?
Look, they've acquired 3 or 4 major sites, and they range from the greenfield market, which is sort of the area that we play in, to the closer inner city infill sites. So they've got a really wide range and diversification of product. I think the main takeaway right now is that no matter what market we're in, height or low or whatever, a property developer is always taking a fairly aggressive and long-term approach. So I find that quite comforting is maybe not the word, but there's always a deal to be done, no matter where we're at in the cycle, right? And these guys are taking really long-term views, especially in Adelaide and especially up there in Queensland. So, there's a lot of turmoil in the media of late, but when you're seeing a massive developer, and yeah, sure, they're backed by money, but obviously smart money, looking for long-term yields and long-term growth, you can sort of see that they've got a pretty good strategy here, or they've got a strong strategy behind them. So, mate, they're not the only ones doing that right now.
No,
and I'm not saying
deals.
that we are.
We love deals. So there you go.
We do love deals.
Hey, speaking of money and deals, well, it's not so much a deal, but it's in relation to money, and this is completely off topic. I do have a what did you Google for you. I know it's a new segment, and I noticed that you haven't raised
Give the stinger a run.
So, what I Googled.
Where's the stinger? Did you Google?
What was that?
What did you Google this week? I Googled.
That is incredible.
All right, what did you Google this week, Schnitz? Give it to us straight.
So, obviously, Wimbledon's been on, and Nick Kyrgios has been in the headlines, obviously, for his on and off field antics, or on and off court antics, I should say, as well as him being pretty successful and making it to a final. So, I Googled, what does Nick Kyrgios make for just playing in the Wimbledon final as a runner-up?
Or just playing?
Yeah, so he didn't win. So I was like, what did he get for his troubles? What do you reckon?
Oh, Wimbledon's probably a big payday, I would have thought. It's one of the oldest competitions ever and one of the most strict, probably one of the most watched as well. And he's getting paid in Great British pounds, no doubt.
GPB?
GPB?
GBB?
No, GBP. Anyway. I reckon he's getting 1.5 Great British pounds.
Ooh,
Mil.
1.5 Great British pounds. That'd barely get you a
Great
bloody
British
Werther.
pounds. Great British pounds.
Yeah, no.
What's he getting?
Look, very close. He got just over £1 million, which I think's about 1.7 million Australian dollars. So he's got quite a sizable paycheck for his troubles. And
He does.
carrying on like a peanut for the majority of it, might I add.
I know. He's no one supports me. Well, you can be a bit of a wanker at times.
But anyway, you got to, I suppose it's a scorecard, not a postcard, as they say in golf. And he certainly, it wasn't pretty, but he did make it to the finals and credit where credit's due. Good on the great man.
I don't know if Kyrgios would know what a postcard was. Hey, as we log off for the week, big schnitz, and I'm coming up there tomorrow to participate in our mid-year JLF games, which is going to be amazing. I've been training for that for about 6 months. Hence the wedge shred is actually turned into a bit of JLF game shred. But I'm hoping my plane doesn't cancel tomorrow because A, I'm excited, but B, from Monday to Sunday just gone, Qantas cancelled 6.7% of domestic flights and had an on-time performance of 44%, very, very low.
Hang on. On-time performance of 44%. So you're saying that more than half of the flights that left between Monday and Sunday last week left behind schedule.
Late as a daisy.
Jesus.
Late as a daisy.
I'll tell you what, those Qantas numbers would definitely not include Jetstar because I reckon 100% of those flights left delayed, and I even heard that one of them got cancelled in midair.
According to Batuta Advocate, one of the most reputable sources in Australian news. But how funny was that?
Yeah.
But a Jetstar flight cancelled mid-flight. So funny. Yeah. Mate, they're cancelling all over, and I'm going to because I'm loyal to our listeners and I'm loyal to you as me mate and me counterpart. Rex Airlines.
Oh,
That
wow.
is the secret, Schmidt. Rex Airlines, yes, they are regional. That's their bread and butter. But more recently, they've bought a few of the Virgin planes in COVID when Virgin wasn't looking so great. They're on life support. And they've taken up some big routes between your big majors.
Wow.
And I tell you, on time and on budget.
And I know that, you're a kind of walk on the plane, turn left type of operator.
I'm not.
The real front of the plane number.
With Rex I am because $250 for business class when Virgin's trying to charge me $500 to sit in the cattle class. I'm going to Rex and turning left.
There you go. So that's coming from a Platinum Velocity Virgin member.
That's right.
You're throwing it in and jumping ship or jumping plane.
Mate, you can't do deals over the phone. You got to just get on the plane. So yes, I do have a few frequent flyers. Don't be salty. Don't be salty. Don't be salty. You'll be doing it when you're going over to Perth a little bit more. You'll see.
All right,
probably need
very
me
good.
to step
Hey,
in
we
for
better
that
wrap
as
it
well.
up. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. And
Schmitty, thank you so much. And look, if you're back in a few weeks, which you probably will be because I'll be out of here for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We're just keeping the people happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keeping people.
Thank you for
Thanks
having
for
me.
dialing in.
See you later.
Thanks for listening to another episode of The Double Shot with your favourite cousins, Alex and James Fitzgerald. If you've got a burning question or something we absolutely need to talk about on the pod, please write to us. Both of our emails are in the show notes. For little real estate tidbits and a little bit of banter, okay, a lot of banter, you can follow us on the gram. Our handle is thedoubleshot.podcast. That, my friends, is thedoubleshot.podcast. Until next time, think of us when you sit back and sip your next double shot.
Seriously. You ask a bloke to get you on Michael for a podcast called The Double Shot, and I've sat here with me in my hand and 0 coffees.
Do you have any beverage of any sort?
No, I have no beverages. It's probably why I wasn't on my best. I've got no beverages, and I think the listeners could hear it.
Unbelievable.
Oh, well.